Hi everyone, I'm Susan Birch and welcome to another A Health Detective podcast. And today's podcast is the first of a series of podcasts with my friend Leigh-Anne Sharland. And Leigh-Anne and I are going to spend some time over the next few weeks and months talking about her health journey. I'm going to let her explain what has happened. And then we're just going to talk about what she's learned about herself, what she's learned about nutrition and taking care of herself. So Leigh-Anne, thanks for coming and sharing your story.
My pleasure. Thank you for everything that you've done to help me deal with the last 5 months of my life. So for everybody on this podcast, I'm going to say a miracle happened about 6 months ago and I met Susan Birch. Little did we know that she was going to become one of the most pivotal people in my life. So let me take you back to February 22, 2022. Oh, I didn't realize it was that date. But anyway, on that day, I was out having a soda water drink with a girlfriend at a pub in Docklands, Melbourne. And I started having what appeared to be a visual migraine, but it was different to any other visual migraine that I've had before. And it turned out that after some very weird things, especially my dog, apologies for my dog joining in, and my husband yelling at my dog. It happens. So anyway, so to cut a long story short, I had a period of 90 minutes where I felt like I had dementia. I could not find words. I could not competently walk. I had muscle loss. I had facial loss, and I had a weird feeling in my mind where people were saying things to me on the outside and I wasn't believing them. And I got assessed by medical first aiders and they thought that I was having a stroke or a mini stroke. So I got taken to the hospital. Under COVID conditions, they're under so much pressure. They assessed me and kicked me out within 8 hours and gave me the label TIA or mini stroke and put me on a series of drugs that are the standard protocol for if you've had a stroke. So that was the beginning of my journey. Now, the rule book says that when you have a TIA, you're better in 24 hours. According to the rule book, it says that you have no permanent change. Well, that wasn't what was happening for me. My ability to walk was impaired. My ability to talk, and I can talk underwater, so my ability to talk was impaired. And then my ability to think really was impaired, and it seemed to be getting worse. Now, I didn't get, I was in denial. I went to the GP and he kept saying, well, I'd asked to be referred to a neurologist, and he would say, no, they're just going to refer you to a physio. So I'll just refer you to a physio. Let's just save the money. Well, thank God. My husband's doctor said, nah, there's something wrong. And I, through that contact, got referred to a neurologist and got in very quickly. Well, then I had a series of tests, a lot of tests. Some of the tests led to the next test. But then they found that I've actually got epilepsy, not the epilepsy that we see in movies, a different kind of epilepsy, but I have seizures when I'm asleep. And then on top of that, there was this random blood test about tumor markers that was done. And we still don't know why the neurologist asked for that one. And we discovered that I now have very early stage liver cancer. And I'm ecstatic because it is a primary liver cancer. I have no other cancer in my body. It can be operated on. I'm only going to lose 15% of my liver. I'm going to have a fantastic life. And you know, and I have the best woman in my corner who is teaching me about nutrition. And I'm sure she's getting a bit tired of me asking her questions every second day, or maybe every day, about this thing and that thing. But she's helping me create in my mind a really good understanding of what's good for me and why my habit of poor eating, no exercise, and extraordinary stress was not doing me any good. So, Susan, do you want to talk about the journey we've had with nutrition?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We've had so many conversations, and many of them would have been wonderful to have recorded, I think. We have had a journey with nutrition, and that journey has been, I think, dispelling a lot of the myths about nutrition.
So, well, how many times have I Googled? All right. So the one thing that I've learned is that the experts are so experts, they forget to say out loud what is useful for a person like me. I'm a like principal data analyst person. I have worked in data and system and automation for 40 years. So I'm like, you know, I need the pattern, tell me the pattern. And they didn't really tell me very much about what's going on. And so feeling out of control, I went to my bestie, Google. And of course, the more I went to Google, the more certain things were coming up in my Facebook, my LinkedIn. And so I'm just getting all these articles and they seem great. And I'm looking for the answer. But I know that I can ask Susan to help me because I have no discernment. I believe whoever it is that is writing the article, and I appreciate that their intention is good. I appreciate that it's their perspective, but we need more than that, really.
Well, I think that was something we talked about this morning, because we got you started with chronometer a few days ago to start tracking your food intake and your nutrient intake, because I want to have a look at, you know, what making sure that you're getting all the right amino acids and all the right micronutrients and vitamins and things. And so this morning you were commenting about chronometer and saying, oh, I probably don't think I'm eating enough. And you're quite hard to pin down, really. And so I insisted that you tell me how many calories you were eating, which ended up being about 800 a day, which is absolutely insufficient calories for anybody's body to run on properly and get well and keep your immune system functioning properly. And we think about calories as controlling our weight. And it's true that they are involved, but they're not the end all and be all of it. There's a whole lot more complexity to it. But anyway, we got talking about calories, and then we got talking about protein.
Because 2 days ago, I was really proud of how much protein I'd had. And yesterday I knew that I hadn't had much. So I thought I was learning, and I thought that I was going to get maybe a 3 out of 5 for my protein score. But I got some education instead.
Yeah, you did get some education this morning. We had a little lesson in protein, so we thought we might talk about that a wee bit today. So do you want to tell us what you were eating and why you thought that was so good?
So am I telling about the reasonable day or yesterday?
You can share them both.
Okay, so with my chronometer, and I really recommend that you download this app. I didn't download it until the other day, and being an accountant person, I love balancing my books, right? So I'm loving filling in what I'm having. And so I'm finding it really good. But so yesterday I don't think you can see it, which is a shame. Next time we'll remember to do PowerPoints. Yesterday I went to the spud bar and had a sweet potato spud, which was so yummy. Oh, it was so good. But I forgot to ask for chicken on that. And so it had no protein, but it tasted good. And in the morning I'd had high protein bread, a couple of slices of bacon, and an egg, right? And so my protein yesterday was 30 grams, and my carbs was 66.5 grams, and my energy was 615 calories, and my fat was 19.2. You got to forgive me. I'm not feeling like eating right now. I've only just been told I got cancer.
We'll make a few allowances for that. But when you've got something like cancer, which is a very serious autoimmune disease, it's so essential that you're getting the nutrients in that you need for your body to fight this damn thing. And, so even though you don't feel like eating, it is really important. And this morning we talked a little bit about when people get cancer, they don't really die from the cancer, they die from the consequences of the loss of muscle that happens as a result of the cancer. So our muscle provides us with our reservoir of amino acids. And, we're all familiar with watching people, just suffer horrendously and watching them lose all their muscle as they slowly, as their health and their battle with cancer sort of slowly fails. And so that's one of the reasons why making sure you get that protein into you is so absolutely important. And so this morning we talked a little bit about how much protein you should eat and why it's so important. So for you and I, Leigh-Anne, at our age, we need more than 30 grams of protein at each meal, not 30 grams of protein for a day, and the older we get, the more protein we need, the more exercise we do, the more protein we need. And when our health is, being challenged, then we need a lot more protein to help deal with it. And, protein is the building blocks for every single function in our body. Aside from water, when we don't count water, protein makes up most of our body. And the hormones and the enzymes and the cofactors and the building blocks for everything. So this morning we talked about protein as part of a recipe, you know. So if you're going to make a sponge cake, you've got certain ingredients that need to go into making that sponge cake. And if you start tottering around with those ingredients and changing them, you might end up with a cake, but it's not going to be the sponge cake that you wanted. And it's the same with protein and the amino acids. And there's so much misunderstanding about the role of amino acids. And there are 9 essential amino acids. We have to have them in our body at every meal in the right ratios. That recipe has to be accurate, it has to be right. And if we don't get them in those right ratios at each time we eat, well then what we do get in, we don't use. We can't do anything with it. We can't make new muscle, which is our reservoir for protein. So that in between eating, our blood supply of amino acids is going to be really low, and we're just going to break down what we have. We're going to break down the muscle we have, but we're not going to be able to replace it. And so it's such a vital component of health that I just can't stress enough, you know, for you and for anyone listening to this.
Well, I notice, and I've mentioned to you as I've struggled to get diagnosed, and, you know, the days where I've not been able to walk without a walking stick. And I know that I have muscle wastage. And so I'm really struggling with strength in my left leg. And I can see now, based on our conversation today, and I'm going to say that it isn't that Susan hasn't said it to me before. It's just it didn't click because of this brain fog that I've got. So sometimes it does take you a few times to hear, to let the information in, and then eventually accept it as being related to yourself. So yeah, so just sit with these ideas and just see what are your biases. My bias of I can't be told anything, or my bias of I'm a superwoman, and of course this can't be happening to me. I'm not sure what category of bias they are, but yeah, but I'm really like, I think my barriers are down now, and I can, and my brain is working on occasion. And yeah, but I really think that it really is important. So with the 9 different proteins, I'm going to ask you a question.
Amino acids.
Sorry, 9 different amino acids. How do we know, like, what food are they in, or how do we know whether they're all there or in the right ratio? Or
well, this is something that's really confusing to the public. And, you know, it's hard to explain, but I'll try and do it simply. So basically, you know, the best explanation I can think of is that, you know, we've evolved over millions of years, okay? And we evolved to eat the food that was available in the environment that we lived in. And most of the food that we had available was animal-based food. So our bodies adapted to require the nutrients that came from those foods. Okay, so we evolved over time. And so that's why we have a specific need for these amino acids and fatty acids and vitamins and minerals and trace elements. So if we use that approach today, we know that all the animal foods are going to be providing us with the amino acids in the ratios and quantities that we need. Okay. Now, there's a huge movement towards plant-based. And I don't want anyone to get me wrong. I'm not saying we shouldn't eat plants, and I'm not saying that plants haven't been a valuable part of our existence as we evolved, and that plants don't play a role in our diet now. But the problem with plant foods is that they have a very, very low amino acid profile. They don't have very much protein in them. And the amino acids are very different in different quantities and ratios than what we need and evolved to eat. And we have to get these amino acids in all at the same time in those quantities. So if we use plant foods, often we have to either mix up the different sources of plant foods, or there are some like soy, which is a complete protein. But the problem with that is you have to eat so many calories. So you're going to be eating 700 to 1,000 calories of soy to get enough protein for one meal. And that's just really not very well understood. And we talked about this a bit this morning, is that, you know, you shared a Google article with me which had pretty coloured pictures and, you know, what you should eat if you've got liver cancer, you know, and I kind of just went and bashed my head on the wall for about 5 minutes before I replied. Because these look beautiful, they're easy to understand, and we feel intuitive about them. You know, the pictures are pretty and they're all full of colour. And we've been taught this for our whole lives, you know, the more colour on your plate, the prettier the pictures. This represents nutrition. And unfortunately, the science of it is really droll and boring. And you know, how do I explain the science of it without putting everybody to sleep? You know, because it's complicated and people's brain, you know, you said to me this morning, oh, that's enough. My brain's, you know, my brain's fried. I can't understand anymore right now. And, you know, that's not just you, that's absolutely everybody. So coming back and speaking back or against some of these ideas is quite challenging, because there are no pretty memes to use, and you're saying, well, you know, please trust me that this is correct. But again, as I said to you this morning, Leigh-Anne, they're not my ideas. I am the messenger of the ideas. I'm the person that has studied it, continues to study it, has the best wishes for outcomes for everybody's health. And I just want to be able to share those ideas so that people are better empowered to take care of themselves.
And I know, like, that's what I love about you. Like, you've been so generous, and I know that you're so generous with your clients in helping them. And and we do, so we want to understand things simply. And I think that's where we'll work together on understanding and talking about why. You know, I'm really lucky that my cancer has been discovered so early that it'll be surgery and hopefully nothing else, right? But because my symptoms weren't due to come for 6 more months. And by that time, my tumor would have been double the size. So I'd be losing 50% of my liver instead of 15. So I'm passionate about helping people too. And really, I think it starts with our thinking. It really, it is for us to stop just accepting what the mass media says, what the subliminal information from advertising says, what our parents said, what our peers say, and time for us as adults to learn more about our body. I know I'm born again health, but you know what? I want to be, my granddaughter is 3. I want to be at her 21st, dancing like you want to put me on TikTok. So, you know, and be one of those big influencers. So I can't do that if I cark it.
No.
That's Australian slang, by the way.
Yeah, no, you're right. You can't do it if you cark it. And just, taking the time, being prepared to change your mind, being prepared to listen to other information, and then you're an individual, you have a body that works individually, you respond to things individually, and then, you know, that there's a science to this, and then there's an art to this. And the science is understanding the complexity of how it all comes together. And the art is finding what works for you and your genes and your environment, and putting it together in a way that you can cope with and manage and, thrive, so that you're dancing on the tabletops at Evie's 21st.
Exactly. Well, if I have not been able to have fish, and I avoided having omega stuff most of my life, because it's fish, right? I haven't liked fish all my life, makes me ill. I have a spoon of cod liver oil every day, and I don't even taste it anymore. So it's about my mindset. If it's important enough, and my life is important enough for my family and for my future grandchildren who aren't here yet, I can decide what is too hard and why it's important. So I'm really looking forward, Susan, for us to have other conversations together about my journey. And I can't guarantee that I'll be ecstatic about finding out I've got liver cancer every time, but sharing the journey with others is my passion. Empowering others to live their best life is what I love to do.
Well, it's fabulous, and I'm really looking forward to a few more episodes of this as we follow you on your journey, and we track what you learn about nutrition and micronutrients and taking care of yourself along the way. Thanks for coming, Leigh-Anne.
My pleasure. See you later, everybody.
Bye.